Hello, welcome to my channel. Welcome to this video. Today I'm going to talk about this really interesting method that I use to get a very good sound out of any amp that I play, any guitar that I use. Now, how, right? How could you get something like that? What I primarily focus on is my ears. And in this video I'm going to show you guys how you can do the very same thing, this whole method with your equipment, because the thing that really matters here is your ears. This is going to be tailored to how you hear your guitar and your amp, and at the end of the day, what's important to us is how we hear our equipment, right? I know it's funny because some live people are going to say, well, it matters what the audience hears. Yes, of course, but for bedroom guitar players, for those of us who kind of just sit here in our apartments, in our homes, in our rooms, just playing guitar, the inspiration starts here first, doesn't it? So we have to get it sounding good here in our ears first before we can go out there and just show the world what we got. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to show it off, this method, with the solid state Vox amp, and I'm going to use my Stratocaster, but this works with any guitar, any amp. So let's go ahead and get started. Doesn't matter if it's clean or gain, whatever, this should work on any amp.
Guys, the equipment we'll be using today to do this, which really doesn't matter because this is going to apply to any guitar, any amp that you use, right? But anyways, here's a cheap solid state Vox Pathfinder 15R, amazing sounding amp, but it's a cheap solid state amp. It's not an expensive tube amp, but this method works with expensive amps as well. So we're going to start off by turning off all your effects because they're just going to get in the way. You're going to want to turn down the bass. You're going to turn down the treble. I know this might hurt some of you. This might hurt some of you because my dear settings, they're going away. Yes. You're going to turn down the gain. And you're going to turn on the volume. Just start off with a clean slate. You know what? Just, everything down. I know, it hurts some of you guys. No boost, but we're going to start off like this. And with your guitar, it is very important. I'm doing this with the Stratocaster, but if you have a one knob, one volume, one tone guitar, keep all of them at 10. See, I do this setting at real, you're seeing me change things because I do this setting all the time. I do this method all the time. When I'm changing rooms or whatever, keep everything at 10, start everything at 10. I guess you could start it at 0 too, but I like to start at 10. And we're gonna start off initially with the volume and gain. We'll set these up first. So this is step 1. Step 2 will be setting the treble and the bass. And if you have a middle knob, you do that. Effects really is not relevant because if you have an amp that doesn't have effects, then don't worry about this. But hey, you'll see that when you set this up with this method, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, my little dog went on a barking spree, but she's done now. So you'll see when you do this method, your effects might actually end up sounding pretty good. It might sound better. You might find that you won't even have to turn the reverb all the way up. You probably can keep it nice and low because the dry sound sounds so good that this is just complementing the dry sound, right? Tremolo, well, I don't know. I guess that doesn't really change much regarding the EQ or whatever. But like I said, we're going to start off with the volume and the gain. You'll see me doing this in real time, real quick. And I'll explain to you guys what I did and what I was looking for right after I was done. So let's do this real quick. Let's go. All right, my dear friends, let's do this real quick. Now, there's a couple of things before I do this. I want you all to know that it doesn't really matter what room you do this in, your living room, your wherever you play, it's totally fine. Just keep in mind that wherever you do this, you're going to want to do it where you're primarily playing all the time. So if you're playing in your room, do this in your room. If you're playing in the living room, do this in your living room. If you're playing it in the middle of your living room like this, then you want to do it like this. But the point is you're using your ears when you turn up the volume to make sure that you're playing and complementing the sound of the room. Yes, because your room is going to matter. After all, your room is not going to make it sound bad. It's not going to make it sound, bad if you turn up the volume to adjust to the size of the room because, sound bounces through the walls, comes back to your ears. You just want to make sure that when you do this, the volume is not overly loud. It's, you're protecting your hearing. You're making sure that your ears are at a comfortable hearing level and that
yeah, don't damage your ears. Main point. So let me show you how to do this. Sounds great. Now, what I did here, let me turn my guitar volume down. What I did here essentially is when I was playing the guitar, I made sure that I got the gain to where I wanted it to be, and I adjusted the volume accordingly. Sounds good. And when I went to the EQ section, I started from the bass. I guess if you had a middle knob, you'd do bass, middle, then treble. I find that it's just easier for me. You can experiment. Go ahead and do the treble first, then do the middle first, and then the bass and the treble, or the middle, treble, bass, and whatever order you want to do this. I like to start with the bass. For me, I want to feel, the bass when I play my guitar. And I know some of you will think in a recording scenario, the bass doesn't matter, this isn't that. Well, if I'm sitting in my room, like I said, I want to hear the bass. I don't want to make it sound like a bass guitar, but I want to hear bass from my instrument. Because I have bass, E, A, D, the bass strings on your electric guitar, you want to emphasize those strings. And so the point here is that I want to get a nice balanced overall tone. I want to get good highs, good lows, and good mids. So I try to teach my ear how to identify when there's too much and when there's too little. So that's why you will probably see me go up and down with the knob. Giving the amp too much bass and giving it too little, giving it too many highs and too little, and just finding a middle ground where for my ears, it sounded like it was complementing the sound. It was not adding too much or too little. When I struck a nice G chord, no frequency was coming out more than the other. Everything sounded nice and balanced. That's what you're aiming for. That is a good place to start when you're setting up the tone on your amp. And that's pretty much it as far as the equalization of the amp. So let me show you now what I do with the guitar. And I guess I'll just face this way, and maybe you can kind of see me doing it in front of the camera. I don't know if it's getting a good view of this. So if it's not, I'll explain what I'm doing. So for the EQ part on my guitar, essentially what I was doing is making sure, this is really not 100% necessary. If you find that with everything on 10 on your guitar, and after setting up the amp the way that I did, if you find that that sounds good to you, don't even mess with your guitar. Leave it as is. But if you find that you want to just fine tune something, maybe your pickups, or like maybe the neck and the bridge, it's just a little too spiky. You want to maybe soften it up a little bit. You don't want to move like your treble by like a little micro millimeter, whatever. There's no point in doing that. I like to do it from my guitar. I find that I can do some fine tuning with the guitar. That's mainly what I use the tone knobs for, and I do the major changes on the amp.
So just like shelving off a little bit of the high end, I found out that with the neck, I ended up at 8. Now, when you saw me switching between the neck and the bridge, what I was doing is making sure that when I switch between both pickups, that the bridge doesn't come in with pins and needles, like super brash on my ears with treble and no. So what I like personally is comfort for my ears. I want them to feel great. I want to hear audio and I want my ears to say, yes, that sounds good, that feels good, that doesn't hurt, that doesn't make me feel like I'm flinching, that doesn't, no, I don't want any of that. I want everything to sound balanced. When I'm playing guitar in the room by myself or even with friends, I find that I still like to do it this way. So when I switched back and forth between them, I adjusted both tone knobs for the neck and the bridge. And you can do this with the Stratocaster if it has it wired for the bridge at the last tone knob. Or if you have like a Les Paul or a 335, you got tone knobs for each pickup. If you have a Telecaster where you have one tone knob for just both pickups, then you will have to just adjust on the fly. But now I have a good sound between both pickups and the volume. Final thing for the volume. So if you find that maybe you have some really hot pickups and after you've done this, you've always felt that maybe it just feels like everything is just coming in really hard. It feels like things are just not breathing. Maybe everything sounds cluttered. Turn down that volume knob just a hair. It'll open up your guitar. Just think of it as your guitar pickups are ears. And when you have someone whisper in your ear, you can almost hear it like right there. Like there's no dynamic range between their vocals. They're right there. It's so kind of loud. But when they back up, you start to hear a little bit more openness because the sound is spreading around the room. Just think of your pickups like this. Someone speaking directly to your ear when you have the volume turned all the way up. And as you're turning down, the person is stepping back. So you are losing some volume, but you're also gaining some openness. So I sometimes like to do this and turn my volume, if you have a good volume pot, turn it down to like 9 or 8. And then you'll find that you'll have a little bit more dynamic range when you play solos or when you strum chords, you'll feel it being a little bit more punchy. So yes, this is a method, really great, really cool. And I know that you're gonna like it if you try it out for yourself. Just go ahead and try it out. If you're afraid that you're messing up with your settings or whatever, take a picture of the settings you have in your amp before you try this, and then just put it back if you really just thought this didn't help. But this is what I do. This is what I do when I hang out at another, like maybe I go to a friend's house and I want to set up my amp there. I'll do it really quick if I have time. Or if I go and maybe I want to take the amp to my room, my bedroom, I'll do it there. I do this all the time. It takes literally 2 to 3 minutes to do this. And try not to obsess too much. The whole point is that it sounds good to your ears. Your ears is what matters, okay? So let me go ahead and just switch the camera angle and I'll say my goodbyes. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me just answer a couple of questions real quick. Thank you. So once again, thank you guys for watching that video. I just want to answer a couple questions that I feel like some of you may ask in the comments, or if you've watched the video. Some of you will say, well, I'm a type of person that just sets and forgets the amp and I don't really see why you would want to do this. Well, and that's a fair point. If you're that type of person, then don't think too hard about it. Don't do what I did. This is just an alternative that I wanted to present. And if you find that you gain something from it, then that is the entire point of this video. I've never really spoken to anybody about this type of method. I don't really see a lot of people covering it that much, or at least talking about it in detail in the way that I did. So I hope you learned something from it. I think the biggest thing is, yeah, definitely don't obsess over, you know, all the knobs and everything. You want to play your instrument, but if you do find that you want to get the best out of your instrument, your amp and your guitar, this is one easy thing you can do without using any screwdrivers, any soldering, anything that can help a lot. No removing of strings, anything. So that is sort of the point. Some of you, I guess, will probably think, well, I do this and there's another way that I go about it that I think would help with what you're doing, the method. Talk about it in the comments. Please let me know how you feel about it. If you've tried it yourself and you liked it, let me know. If you've tried it and you've tried something else, that you think could benefit another person that's watching this video, leave it in the comments. We want to get us sounding as best as we can, right? Like, we want to get the best sounds for our ears, for us as individuals. The inspiration starts in your room, and we want to get the best sound when inspiration strikes, right? So that's really it. If you do have any questions or concerns or anything, leave it in the comments. I try to get back with answers as quickly as I can. And yeah, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video. If you made it all the way through here, thank you so much. It means a lot. I don't really know if I have a name for this. This is just a method. This is just a way of doing things. Let's just look at it that way. But I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it a lot. Hope you really actually gained and learned something from it. Thank you so much, and I'll just see you in the next video.